So in this video, I will talk about general aspects in dealing with negative people. So usually what happens when we think of negative people is that we tend to go into one of two extremes. One is to try to avoid all negative people without discernment, and this can lead to one becoming very judgmental, because then one will inevitably set up a standard to categorize who is negative and who is not. And this standard many times reflects the person's own fears and shadows. And the other extreme is to think that one needs to give everyone sympathy without discernment, and this can lead to one opening themselves up to dark forces that want to manipulate you and steal your energy. And if you step back and look at both approaches, you can see that both spring from a state of consciousness in which one is not willing to use their intuition to sense the underlying energy reality of things in the heart, but instead is using the linear mind and focusing on outer appearances, in analyzing and categorizing without really capturing the essence of the situation through intuition, a reading vibration. And this can lead to either being very judgmental or opening oneself up and their energy field to everything and to things that can hurt them without discernment. So the alternative in going to these two extremes is that one sense in the heart and gain a higher perspective through intuition about a certain situation. And the first step is to make a determination to decide on how and to what extent you want to interact with negative people. And this really is a personal balance that is unique to the person, because each person is a unique individual. And this balance is determined by three things: the person's level of protection, their self-worth, and discernment. So doing work to protect the aura through prayers is essential to see the aura from outside energy. In addition, if a person has a clear sense of their self-worth, then interacting with negative people, if it happens, would not affect their sense of identity and self-worth. Also, having a high degree of discernment, which means being able to read the vibration using intuition, where vibration reflects the intent of the negative person, can make one be able to interact with a negative person without falling prey to their subtle attempts to try to drag you down with them. Now, if you want to help a person who is in a negative spiral, the bottom line is that if you want to pull someone up, you cannot allow them to pull you down, because in that case you have not helped the other person and you have created a problem for yourself. Some people are enveloped in negativity because they have been emotionally hurt or because of ignorance or old momentums, and in that case showing them love can help them step out of their negativity. But other people can be deliberately hurting themselves and others and have no willingness to change or self-reflect whatsoever, and in such cases no amount of sympathy or kindness can help them. Instead, they will use your energy to reinforce their negative spiral, and they become a kind of a bottomless pit that no amount of love can fill, and usually they can only learn by reaping the consequences of their choices, because they are not open to self-reflect or change. And in such cases it can be wise to avoid such people, because staying around them without any change from their side will likely keep stealing your energy away, and where they continuously direct negative thoughts at you. And of course, whether or not to have a relationship, you can only know this from within yourself by connecting to your intuition. And you can find a personal balance according to the nature of the relationship and what brings maximum growth for all involved. But truly what matters is freeing yourself in the mind from any attachment to change them. There are many people and dark forces who will take advantage of naive love and sympathy to drag you down with them, while true unconditional love allows you to wish the other person well and hold the vision for them to be free of this, but also to let go of any attachment to change them and totally unconditionally forgive them to move on. And the core of it is that you need to respect the other person's free will to create a negative spiral, but you also need to respect your own free will to stay out of the negative spiral. And sometimes wanting to help other people against their will and be attached to see them change can be a camouflage pride that can tie you karmically to others, because you truly cannot help those who are not willing to help themselves. And this you can know that there may be cases where you try to help someone, but after some time you admit that your efforts bear no fruits. And this does not mean that you were wrong for trying, but it means that no matter what you do, the other person decided to not be pulled out of their negativity, and you cannot override their free will. The essence of the path of self-development is to progressively be in a state where your inner condition of feeling peace, love, and joy is independent of other people's choices and emotional state. and independent of achieving certain outer results. It is mastering your mind which is the key to inner freedom. Each situation is unique, and you can learn to sense through your intuition what kind of negative people you want to deal with without them dragging you down, and when to help by expressing love and when to move on. Helping from a state of neutrality and peace can happen when you are non-attached to outer results or whether the other person decides to change or not. And any emotional attachment to what the other person chooses is an invitation to pull you away from your path and steal your energy. And the more non-attached you can remain, the more ironically you can help the other person from a place of peace rather than creating a negative spiral for both. And of course, as I mentioned in the video, the quick course of self-development, this does not mean that anytime anyone tells us something negative that we don't need to look at our psychology if there is something that we need to look at or change. But we can sense when someone is lovingly pointing at something we need to look at in our psyche and when it is done with an impure intent, because we can sense energy if it is coming from a place of unconditional love or if it's coming from a place of judgment or trying to put us down. And this is the basis of discernment, energy discernment, of knowing things by vibration alone instead of focusing on the outer forms, words, or appearances. And this ability is in every one of us, and it can be enhanced more by clearing more lower selves. And you can find more about intuition in the video, The Quick Course of Self-Development. In addition, you need to learn to trust your intuition. For example, you may recall meeting a person, let's say in the street, and your first impression is to avoid the person, but then you start to use the linear analytical mind to override the intuitive mind and start to reason why it is okay after all to interact with the person. But first impressions are mostly accurate because you received an outer signal while being neutral. You did not have any preconceived opinions. You were just neutral and you received the signal, which means you have a more accurate insight. So it is essential to always avoid falling into the trap of intellectualizing away the first impressions or intuitive insights you get. So strive to connect to your intuition to guide you to which people you want to interact with and what form of interaction you have. So thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you in your path of self-development.